Hello again. It's been a few weeks again since I last did a recording, and if you look at the backdrop behind me, you can see it's got a bit crumpled up through lack of use. But I've been pretty busy with other things, more work in fact than I've had for a very long time. But in the last few days, when it's quietened down a bit, there's some things that I need to talk about again. In fact, I was reminded of one very, very important aspect of recovering from anxiety, which lady I've been writing to as a result of these videos reminded me of, and I'm very grateful to her for that. And the thing in question is reassurance. Now, this is what I aim to do throughout all these videos, is to reassure you, the sufferer from anxiety, that you can indeed be cured of it. And I know perfectly well, when you're in the middle of it, how impossible that idea sounds. I know very well what that feels like. So I want to once again stress again that you can recover it. And it doesn't matter how long you've been like this. It doesn't matter how intense it is right now. You can still come through it and get your life back. Now, another subject that comes up regularly, and I think it bears a bit more explanation, and forgive me if I am repeating myself again. I mean, this is all part of me reassuring you that you can get better. And it's the way in which your thought processes work when you're in a state of anxiety. And what it comes back to is understanding the basis of why the approach I've talked about, the Clear Weeks approach I've talked about, why that actually works. Because what so many people make the mistake of doing, and it's perfectly understandable that they do this, is to resist and try to change the way they are feeling. Now, as I say, that's perfectly understandable, because if you were faced with a real problem in the real world, this is what you would do. You'd try and solve the problem. You'd think a great deal about it. You'd look at it from all different angles. You're trying to solve it in order to remove the fear that is associated with it. This is what we aim to do all the time. We're trying to regain our composure, if you like. You're trying to get back a sense of ease. But when you're in an anxiety state, that sense of ease is almost totally lacking. You might have brief moments when the anxiety stops or it just dies down a bit. But soon it comes back again, and this is what people are struggling so desperately to achieve, just to have a bit of peace of mind, peace of body. And this is why the thoughts that accompany anxiety are so relentless. It's your mind's attempt to solve your fear problem. That's all it is, really. But I'm not underestimating what it can be like. It can be hell indeed, because your mind just runs away with itself. The thoughts go on endlessly. They keep you awake at night. They go on all through the day. They distract you from anything you're trying to do. It just goes on and on. And I know how it gets some people, what the state that it gets them into. They can't stand it anymore. It really is a relentless and horrible thing to experience. I remember it only too well. Now, the fact is, you cannot, so I've talked about this before, but I must say this again. Trying to stop thinking this way is impossible. You're in this very sensitized, frightened state. Your mind is running away as it is, and any attempt you make to try and stop thinking this way simply won't work. You're just making it worse if you try to stop thinking in this way. So, you think, well, what the hell do I do? Well, this is where understanding what this acceptance approach actually does for you, and understanding how it works. If you appreciate the fact that you cannot stop this relentless thinking, then what else is there for you to do? You have to accept it. You have to accept that it's there. You can't make it stop. You can't force it to go away. You can try in lots of different ways to prevent it happening. You can try distracting yourself. You can try trying to force yourself into thinking of something else. But sooner or later, the thoughts return. And this is what so many people get desperate about, because they can't stand this never-ending thought process which goes around in circles. So, as I say, you can't stop it, so what else can you do but accept that it is there? But this is where the understanding comes in. When you understand what is happening to you, why this is happening to you, it's your mind trying to solve your fear problem for you. When you understand what accepting it will do, and you put your trust and your faith in that, this is when you can start to make progress. Now, whenever I talk about this, I know it probably sounds very glib. I seem to be kind of dismissing it lightly. Believe me, I do know very well what this is like. And I can remember countless days where my mind was just a fury of thoughts. I couldn't concentrate or do anything. It was just on and on and on relentlessly. So I do understand just how severe this problem can be. Having said that, I still suggest that you have to reach a point where you think, I can't stop this. I can't fight this anymore. I'm just going to let it be there. I can't make it go away, so I have only one choice here. I have to accept its presence. Now, when you make this decision, and I'm not just talking about your thinking, I'm talking about every aspect of your anxiety. When you make this decision that you're going to give up trying to do something about it, you may at long last feel a certain sense of relief, because at last you think, well, there's nothing I have to do about it. Now, again, many people say, well, I've got to do something about it. I can't just let it go on. But what these people don't understand is that what happens when you give up fighting is that your body and your mind repair themselves. They heal themselves. The sensitization, which is making all this happen in the first place, that starts to die away. That starts to decrease. So all the aspects of your anxiety start to steadily decrease. And this is what you're aiming for. This is what you want. But it seems such a paradox that this is the way to do it, because I think a lot of it is to do with the way we are brought up to think of how we deal with problems in life. I think we're taught to treat problems as something that have to be solved, and we have to take action in order to solve them. So when it comes to anxiety, we automatically tend to think, at least at first, that the only way we can stop this anxiety problem is to take some sort of action. We have to take some deliberate, positive, constructive steps, positive, active steps to make this anxiety go away. But we pretty soon realize that this simply does not work. It cannot work. Think of it as being like an endless battle within yourself. It's you against your body and your mind. It's like you're two separate things. You feel like you are. You feel this you're thinking, this anxiety is horrible, I hate it, and you're fearing all the symptoms, you're fearing all the thoughts. But in actual fact, This is just an illusion, a complete illusion, because you're all of a piece, you're one being, and the part of you that thinks is kind of separated yourself from the rest of it. So what you're doing by accepting is you're acknowledging that there is actually no point or purpose to trying to stop feeling a particular way. This is something that people find very hard to grasp sometimes, because they're still stuck in this way of thinking that they have to take action. And it's with me, the first time I was ill, it came about in a very dramatic way when I realised the futility of what I was doing. And I've talked about this quite a number of times, but it was such a powerful experience, and that's why I talk about it so much. But I gave up the fight, and gave it up because I really believed there was nothing else to do. I'd done every single thing I could think of, and nothing had helped. So I gave up, and this is when I finally got some peace. I finally began to recover. Now, more recently, my anxiety and my panic attacks and all the rest of it have gone on for years, and this has been in spite of me knowing all about Claire Weeks. I've known about her for years, but I just didn't feel I could do what was necessary. Again, I'd fallen into this trap of thinking I had to do something specific, take acceptance and treat it like an action, if I can put it that way. This is where I was going wrong. I was trying to make myself accept. I was trying to force myself not to react to the way I was feeling. All this was completely wrong. I was just trying to make it go away. Only I was at the same time trying to convince myself that I was actually following Claire Weeks' advice, but I wasn't. It wasn't until quite a bit later when it finally clicked, and I thought, what am I doing? This is stupid. I'm never going to get better this way, never. And I gave it up. I thought, this is futile. I can't make this, all these horrible feelings and all these horrible thoughts, I can't make them go away. It's never going to work. And I finally abandoned my attempts to do that. And like I said, this is something that many people have a great deal of difficulty getting their head around, because it feels like you're just going to sit back and do nothing. You know, you're just going to wallow in it. Well, I'm not talking about wallowing in it. I'm not saying you just sit down in your chair and you do nothing again. I'm talking about giving up struggling with a war within yourself that doesn't have to be there and serves no purpose whatsoever. Now, what's happened to me over recent months is kind of shown me that this whole approach that I've taken now to my anxiety and how it's affected me from that point of view has also kind of spilled over into my day-to-day life. So what that means in effect is that whereas in the past I always felt, as I've been talking about, I had to do something about problems, and I used to go about this problem solving in such a stupid way. I used to drive myself mad trying to figure out solutions to these problems that basically didn't have a solution, not in the way that I imagined would happen. I used to do all sorts of desperate things, like, for example, work, getting enough work to get money coming in. Money has always been such a problem for so many years. But I've found, oddly enough, that when I finally got the right attitude towards my anxiety, that these problems that I've been grappling with for years. Some strange way, the problems started to dissolve. And like, for example, in October, I had more work come in than I've had in years, and that was really quite a surprise to me, and a delight, of course, because it meant I could earn some money. But I know you think perhaps it's stretching it a bit too far to link that to the acceptance approach, but I can only tell you what has happened. And it seemed to me that when I gave up trying to change not just my anxiety, but change my life, then the things that have been bothering me for such a long time gradually began to get better. So, I mean, that's a whole kind of area in itself, but I think I'm doing this video because of what that lady reminded me of, and it comes back to what I said at the beginning about reassurance. You don't need to feel bad if you need to seek constant reassurance. That's all part of the recovery process. That's what you need to do. And for those of you who come to me and do it, I'm quite happy to give you that reassurance, more than happy, because I know you need it, and I know it helps. I mean, I know what Claire Weeks used to do when she used to treat her own patients. She used to record their conversation during their appointment, so that the person could take this recording away with them and play it to themselves to remind themselves of what was discussed and what they needed to do. And I think that was a brilliant idea of hers. There was always this reminder. This is the reassurance that these people so much needed. So, I mean, she was a genius, the way she used to treat people. Absolute genius. So, like I said, if you feel the need for reassurance, that's fine. You need it. And speaking for myself, when times used to get really bad for me, my reassurance was always to be found in Claire Weeks' books and listening to her voice on her recordings. I found, because I'd known about her for so long, I found her whole attitude was just, I found her completely trustworthy, what she said. I just believed in everything she said, because she spoke it with such conviction, and she obviously knew what she was talking about. And the same goes for her book. So this is why I've gone on and on these videos about asking you to go and get all her material. It doesn't matter that it's years old, because the basis is still sound, the whole technique is still sound. And sadly, not enough people nowadays know about it, and especially doctors. Well, I've moaned about this before, doctors don't know about her method. But to me, that was my way of seeking reassurance. And every time I did that and went back to read what she said, to listen to her recordings, it used to once again reinforce in my mind what it was I needed to do. And over time, I mean, it's taken me some years, and I believe that everybody who's in this state, and I've known people that have been in it for decades, sooner or later they will reach the point that I reached and think, I've tried fighting this for years and I'm still the same. What's to be lost if I just do the opposite and give up trying to make it go away? What is there to lose? Nothing. So this is what once again want to stress here and now, is that whatever state you're in, and however horrible it feels, and I know exactly how horrible it feels, there is a way out. And everything I've talked about on these videos, I've talked about and repeated the same techniques over and over, because this is what you need to hear. All of these techniques work, and it will work for you just as well as for anyone. And that just reminds me of another very common thought, is that people think, oh, their case is special, they're unique in some fashion, that whatever method they try won't work for them because their case is too severe, which is nonsense, complete nonsense. I've thought exactly the same myself many, many times, but I was wrong. It does work, and it has worked. So please, wherever you are now, do find out about Claire Weeks' writing. That will give you the basic understanding that you so need to deal with how you are now. You need that understanding. You need to understand what it is you're doing and why. You need to understand how acceptance actually works for you. You see, another aspect of this current age is that everything has to be done at lightning speed. People expect to be cured at lightning speed. They expect things to happen quickly now. And this is why so many people, they might be aware of this, Claire Weeks' ideas, but then they turn away from it because they think, no, I can't stand doing that for all that time. It's going to take too long. I want something quicker. No. It's like thinking of any other sort of healing that needs to take place. If you damage yourself in some way, that takes time to heal. You can't hurry it up. It just takes the time it takes. So the same goes for anxiety. But having said that, it does and can lift surprisingly quickly if you're able to treat it the right way. There's so much more I could say, and I have already said many of these things before. But this is you see, over the last year and a bit that I've been doing these videos, I've been learning, I've been focusing on anxiety and how it's treated, and I've been learning so much from you out there, from all the different stories I've heard, from all the situations that you're in. I mean, it's incredible, a huge variety of different situations people are in who suffer from anxiety. So I'm extremely grateful to all of you who have got in touch with me, because I've learned so much. And because I've spent so much time talking and thinking about this and looking at my own experience, and in other words, what I've been doing is truly facing everything about every aspect of my anxiety. Doing these videos has made me do that, and so that in itself has been part of my cure. It's been truly facing up to things that I hadn't previously fully faced. Now, just to finally end this video, I don't want to make it too long. I said in my last video that I was trying to manage your expectations about what recovery actually means. But I think I need to say that while you're alive, you're going to have anxiety, fear as part of your life. It's part of the lives of every person living. But what you don't need, and what you can be free of, is the exaggerated, intense, sensitized type of fear. And this is what this whole method I've talked about is aimed at doing. It aims to cure the sensitization. It aims to reduce the sensitization so that your nervous reactions end up as they're supposed to be, just normal reactions. Now, I can't stress that too much, because that sensitization thing, the idea is so much overlooked, it's so rarely mentioned, and it's so important to understanding why it is that you're so afraid. You're afraid of the intensity of what you're feeling, be it the physical feelings themselves or the way in which you get such intense, frightening thoughts. It's all a function of sensitization. And to put it simply, you don't have to do anything in the way of an action to cure yourself. By accepting it, you're finally taking your hand off the switch, as Claire Weeks used to put it. It's like a switch. You keep giving yourself shocks constantly by putting on this anxiety switch. You keep needling yourself over and over again. By keep stimulating your nervous system, which is producing all this stuff, into producing more. So, like she said, take your hand off that switch. You don't have to do it. You can choose to not do it. You can choose to let it all just be there. And when you do this, and when you start to see it working, and I never stop being delighted when I think of how that feels, because when you start to see this approach work and you feel this it's glimpses at first of peace, of how you used to be, how you used to feel, when you start to see these glimpses, and then you think, this is working, this is actually working. And the feeling you get when that realization hits you is indescribable. It must be similar to somebody who's about to be executed and then gets a reprieve. That's a bit dramatic, but I mean it's like that. The relief is incredible. Anyway, I think I've talked long enough, so once again I want to thank you, really, all of you who've gotten in touch with me, all of you who've watched my videos, because I'm really surprised and delighted that you have, and some of the comments you made really warmed my heart, because this is all I set out to do, was to share all this stuff that I've been through, and to show you that you can come out of it, and you will come out of it. And on that happy thought, I'll leave you, and thank you again for watching. Bye for now.